fresh look at business every Tuesday and Thursday at noon Central Time, live on Facebook and YouTube. Fresh from the Phil and Cory Show new Facebook page. So be sure to like and follow. I'm Cory Myers.
I am Philip Robb.
And I'm Kerry Mayfield.
Yeah, today we've got Kerry Mayfield, Dr. Kerry Mayfield from Tierras Planas Roasters. She's the owner. And
first question off the cuff here. Can you make sure that we're saying this right? How do you say it?
So I say it Tierras Planas. So I roll the R's. That's how I was taught, since there's a double R. There are all different sayings of it with letters that aren't there sometimes, and sometimes just drop in the roll. So we'll get into the roll here in a minute, and I'll talk a little bit more about that because it's really cool.
All right, by the end of this podcast, I want to be able to say it like you.
You might or you might not. And my background outside of roasting might have a little bit of give you a little bit of understanding why I think that way.
Okay, awesome.
Well, just to kick us off real quick, I just wanted to mention that we have a brand new sponsor. If you need flowers in Lubbock, you know what to do. Call or click All Flowered Up 2. We've got a link in the description for our YouTube and Facebook channels. allfloweredup2.com. allfloweredup2.com. You can also call them at 806-993-0078. Mother's Day is coming up, so be sure to check out All Flowered Up 2. Kerry, welcome to the show, and tell us about why you started, what got you into roasting Tierras Planas coffee, and tell us why and how and what got you going.
Oh, it's really easy. I was working for a company that would not invest money in the office coffee that we had. It was the worst coffee ever. And it came in a red box. The supplier, I don't know what they did to it from the time it left the factory until the time it got to our office. They could have put it in a sauna, I don't know, but it was terrible. And so the outset of me roasting all came down to, I visited a coffee shop in Belton where they had roasted some coffee. It was Ethiopian coffee, and I went, wow, this is amazing. And that started it out for me, and going, hey, can I do this myself? Can I do this and make me a better cup? And I found out that I could. I was that guy at the office that I would take my daily ground coffee that I had roasted the night before, had a little box about this big, and I would take it in. We had a Keurig, and I would put it in there, and I'd brew me a cup, and you could tell everybody flocked to the break room whenever that happened. And every now and then I was nice, and I brew a pot for everybody, but I kind of kept it to myself. But then it just kind of snowballed, and it snowballed and snowballed, and we started looking at going, okay, is this viable? Can we do this? Can we make something? First off, it was, can I make my hobby pay for itself? Can I, as I bought bigger equipment, because my first roaster I could handle about 220 grams of ground coffee a day per roast, and that roaster was about 40 minutes total from the time I started one to the time I started another one. So you can see that wasn't a scalable operation. A couple of the message boards that I'm on continually have that question: can I do this and roast commercially with this roaster? And there's a barrage of absolutely nots. Give it a shot, but that's all you'll do ever is roast.
Yeah, that economies of scale gets you every time.
It does, and we saw that just with time. And so I was working as a plant breeder, title associate director for breeding for a seed company, and we had money, and so I thought, you know what, I'm going to go up to the smallest level that they recommend for a commercial size. So think of a cafe or something that's low volume but wants to roast their own. That was my first roaster. All right. And so we bought it, and then it was, hey, can we make this thing pay for itself? So that's when we started selling it. When we started selling it, that's when we started selling out weekly. We went, oh goodness, this can grow into something bigger. And we got fortunate to walk into a larger piece of equipment at a very good price right before a price increase. So what are my thoughts on coffee though? Coffee is all about community. It's all about pulling people together, have a conversation, share thoughts, share experiences, share everything. And so that's what's really driving us right now, is making sure that everybody has a good cup of coffee that they can have in their hands while they have that. Zoom is wonderful for that now. Unfortunately, everybody has to drink their own cup independently, and you don't get to smell what the other person's drinking. So, or we could go this way, and it's the misprinted Hump Day cup. So, on Tuesday.
Yeah, we've had a couple of Wednesday, Tuesday, Monday mix-ups here lately. So
Hey.
I think it's acceptable to go ahead and have the Hump Day cup on the Tuesday.
I've been referencing this as Groundhog Day. So there's been days I felt like Bill Murray. You learn something new every day, but it's the same thing every single day.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I saw a meme. It said, "It's quarantine day again," and it's Bill Murray.
Yeah, I feel, to me, it's like boot camp. It's like, yep, I'm still in the same bed. Yeah, I'm still doing the same thing every day. Oh wow,
Yep.
This is fun.
Yes, it is.
Well, and I tell you what, so Kerry, you and I have talked extensively in the past, and one of the things that really kind of gets me about your business is you're still roasting, you're still in business, you're still doing stuff, right? Now things have slowed down because you sell a lot of office coffee and things like that, and so if they're not going to be in the office, they've slowed down their orders. But you're still alive, you're still kicking, and your business is still alive and kicking. What are some of the things that I guess we could go into about how you formed your business? We just talked about economies of scale, but let's talk about the things you've done in the past that have kind of prepared you for this, and then we'll get into how you pivoted in this time of crisis for everyone.
One of the things that we did was we made sure that we had a good, solid online platform. As this has progressed into the quarantine, our wholesale customers, as you mentioned, have dropped off, whether it's the coffee shops that we service or the offices that are almost non-existent right now because they're not there. And so the online platform that we have has just been there and available, and locally has just taken off. Where we were over the last year, just a few sales per week, we're doing that times X every week now online, plus then our face-to-face sales still. So having that kind of preparation and that kind of marketing in the background and training, and Amy Wood with Flint Avenue Marketing, going to sit there and she just pounded stuff in, and I'm sure there's times with me that she's put her face in her hand and gone, I can't believe he just said that or did that. But there's been a lot of working with them on that. In my prior career, when it came to marketing, no, I was R&D 100%. I was 100%, let's make a product and then we can hand it off to somebody else to market it. I give them a bunch of data and then they figure out how to do it and how to put it out there. Now I'm also the face of the marketing, so unfortunately there could be a better face than me, but that's me. I think having that online platform and then having a quality product in the background and I know having a quality product in the background that's going to keep those wholesale customers as the economy comes back, as the businesses start to open back up, they're going to want that. Their employees, their customers are going to demand that quality to be back for them available when that comes back. So realistically, I would have to say that was number one, is ensuring that there was a quality product. And then pivots, for the wholesale side, we brought in a few new things to service some of our customers even more so. So we have a tea line on our wholesale side. At some point, it'll be available on the retail side, but not just yet. Looking at a couple different things, again, that'll roll out on the wholesale side, keep those customers. How can I service those customers even better? And then those same things will roll out as we get them established on the wholesale side and to the retail side.
Wow, that sounds like quite a process. How did you just kind of look at this and figure this out? Did you read about it? Because it obviously sounds like you're making all the right decisions and everything. If you've got somebody else that kind of looks at you and goes, wow, I wish I was doing more stuff like that, what kind of advice would you give them?
Be prepared. I had a business owner tell me I was prepared for everything except for the emotions. The emotions of the roller coaster swings are just enormous. Of crap, that was a mighty blow to the gut. Or hey, I'm riding on cloud nine now, and how to manage in between those. That's the number one. How did I get to where I am though? I did read a lot. Um, I read a lot about coffee roasting. Searched out people that knew more than me, whether it was a YouTube video, the manufacturer of my equipment. They are a certified roasting academy now by the Specialty Coffee Association. And so I've used them multiple times. I've gotten to know the owners there, the roasting trainers that they have there, the personnel and the people there that have had so much more experience than me going, hey, I'm having a problem. How do I get around this? Hey, I'm having a problem marketing this. What's going on here? And their reassurances are there. But then also having an idea on what to do. There's been a lot of small businesses that have formed over the last 10, 15, 20 years. Some people have really been able to make it. Some people not so much. And there's been a lot of books published about people and what their experiences were. And there was two of them in particular, and I brought them out here so I could make sure I get good references to them. One of them was When to Jump by Mike Lewis. And their tagline in that book is when you're in a career that I believe it's stacked up, when your lifestyle doesn't match your career anymore, basically, when to move on. So my previous career as a plant breeder, I was traveling a bunch. And I had a day where I realized that, hey, I've missed out on 13 years basically with my son, 13 to 14, 15 years with my wife. What do we change? How do we change something? So I found that book, When to Jump. It didn't matter when it was. This was way before Tierras roasters came along, roasting coffee in general. And then something happened, and I found another book, this Ready, Fire, Aim, okay, by Melissa Carbone. She started a Halloween tour park in LA. So all she did was say, hey, I have this idea. I'm going to go after it. Then I'm going to figure out how to get it. And between those two books, there was a couple of times where I'm ready to jump, but I don't know how I'm going to jump or where I'm going to jump or how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it. And then I'm going to figure out how to do it on the way in. And the Ready, Fire, Aim part isn't the best attitude to have all the time. God bless you. But
sorry, COVID-19.
Sometimes you're never ready and you never have the perfect aim. So sometimes you just got to fire and loft a shot out there and see where it goes. Sometimes I feel like I'm just out here sighting in a gun or sighting in a new scope and going, okay, where's this thing going to hit? Not even with a bore sight, just going out there and going and lobbing it and saying, oh, there it is. Let's recorrect this way. And you hope you always hit on the target. That way you know where to correct to. Or you have a good sighter there, right? If you have a good sighter, even if you miss off the target, you're still going to make it back on the target. And so that's where, over the course of things, I met Dan Bays at the market. We were selling, we needed insurance. I said, sure, let's go. Didn't realize what kind of business asset that Dan was going to be. And I said, hey, I need something. And he goes, well, we got the person for you. Well, that next person came in. Then it was, hey, then another person came in. And so we go down the line of Dan to Amy Wood to Pauline Salomon to the Chamber of Commerce. And then so building a team. And that team that I built, not necessarily in Tierras, but just as part of me being able to say, hey, this is a group of people that are business-minded, know business, know how to do things, and including you guys now, into master networks, that we can sit back and say, hey, is this a good idea? Is this not a good idea? Look what I'm doing. Hey, in my case with coffee, what do you guys think about this? Is this a good one? Is this not a good one? So kind of gone a long way around that. One of the things you have to have is a really good team. And that team is both internal and external of whatever your business is.
It sounds a lot. I don't know if
for
you know
sure.
Who...
In fact,
go ahead, Cory. Sorry.
I was going to say, building that team is one of the things that I've been putting together.
Yeah, I think we're going to lose Cory.
Yeah,
Oh boy.
Oh man.
He's been having trouble. He just moved into a new place and his internet's terrible. Shout out to
Yeah.
Sunlink.
Oh.
Who's already been over there twice. I'm going to send him a message.
Well, and he was so good earlier on the Master Networks thing every time he came on.
Yeah, usually he restarts his stuff and it'll come back. Here, I'm going to mute him.
Even
Okay.
putting those teams together.
Maybe.
Are we losing me?
Yep.
Yeah. All right, there he goes. Now he's gone. Good. No, just kidding. Hey, so one of the things I wanted to say, have you ever heard of Marcus Lemonis? He does that show on CNBC called The Prophet. But anyways, like exactly what you're saying is kind of his mantra. And what he says is it's people, process, and product. He said those are the big things. It's like first you got to have a process, do A, then do B, then do B, C. You got to have the right people to fill in those roles. And yeah, it sounded a whole lot like what you're saying, and I absolutely love hearing that.
Yeah, no, I spent 24 years basically working for seed companies or within a R&D program for a seed company or Texas A&M University. And each area that I was at, each company had its own process. Texas A&M, I was fortunate to be part of building the process, coming in right at the beginning of a professor that I was working under, earned one of my degrees under. But every process has to be looked at. And when a process fails, there's going to be a failure downstream somewhere. And so you try to ensure your processes are as solid as can be. The nice thing about me being solo, and on the other side, this is a double-edged sword of me being solo in the shop a lot of times, is that my processes come down to what works best for me in what I'm doing. And so I have to look at things and say, is this process scalable? What can we do different in this process? When it comes to people, yeah, you have to have the right people around you. If you don't, it's really tough. It's really, really tough. And then when it comes down to the product, if you don't, especially in coffee, if you don't have a quality product that you can reproduce the roast every single time, especially if you're going into a coffee shop where when they're ordering a single origin or a blend, they want it to be exactly the same every time. While you have that inventory, it's going to be hard to maintain that customer.
Well, and I guess, if you think about any large beverage company from Coca-Cola to Anheuser-Busch to anybody like that, that's their number one concern. And they even have a bigger problem because they've got plants all over the country. But yeah, if I go pick up a Coors Light, for instance, and it tastes different every time, that's weird, right? And that's definitely not just like Coca-Cola. It's like I expect the exact same thing every time I get it, right?
You do, and the fun part is when those large companies like that, and for me and for coffee even as well, regionally you can have differences. I can roast all the coffee here and send it out, and to 20 different people, and 20 different people have a different flavor profile that they taste on. Same thing with beer and with sodas. They have 4 or 5 different bottling manufacturing plants across the U.S. Water is not the same everywhere you go. And so the water has an effect on the flavor. Now, technology over the last 10 to 15 years when it comes to softening and modifying the water flavor content and mineral content has changed and advanced so much that they can modify the water to be the same everywhere now. And so you have this variation. I remember buying a Coke down in South Texas and thinking, hey, this is the best thing ever, because that was where I started drinking Coke. And you go up to Southwest Kansas and go, this is the worst stuff in the world. I mean, it was just the difference in the water that was used in it and the mineral content.
Now let me ask this, since I know you use heating when you're roasting, and I'm pretty sure most other companies in like fermenting beer and stuff also use heat. Will altitude also play a role there? Because I believe that's thermal, the amount of thermal and energy changes, right?
I think the altitude's going to play a bigger role in what the...
And he's back.
Hey, Cory.
And you're muted just now.
Screen, man. And it's going to play a bigger role in how fast the coffee roasts and how fast you can roast it. So if you think about trying to boil a pot of water, if you're at sea level versus 3,000 versus 8,000 feet. It affects how the pot still boils 212, maybe 214 degrees the higher up you go, because you have to increase the overall pressure inside. So you're going to have a bigger difference in how fast it roasts. Not
Does that
necessarily
change the way
flavor.
it tastes, though? I mean,
Yeah,
just
if you roast the coffee way too fast, yes, definitely, you can
okay.
introduce a lot of negatives about coffee in the roasting profile that I have. Now, there's other roasting platforms that are out there that roast coffee much faster than what I have too. So, but yeah, and biggest thing really is water and temperature when it comes to what my drink. If you take and I spread it out, say from California through New York, we're going to have all different flavors based on the water that somebody has.
Sorry,
Well,
I'm
I
trying to
thought,
see. I'm trying to see if why Corey's muted. I was trying to make sure that I didn't mute him.
I
Oh,
thought,
There
I
you
I was
go.
muted just
was
because
gonna say, I thought you did meet him a while ago.
I did, and that's why I was like, "Oh gosh, did I like permanently mute him or something?" I finally found the button.
Hey, by the way, guys, sorry about that.
Yeah, I
No
gave a
problem.
shout out to Sunlink for you. So
Yeah, suddenly Galties, I can't help you if you're not, my $58 a month obviously isn't enough to keep my internet connected.
so Kerry, one of the things we haven't touched on, I've heard enough to we've heard enough to know you definitely know what you're talking about when it comes to beverages and stuff like that. What is your background in? Because I know you have a PhD. Is that right?
Yes, I do. I have a whole PhD and a Master of Science in plant breeding. Earned those in 2006 and 2011. My career started in agricultural sciences, started in 1994, working for Cargill Hybrid Seeds outside of Portland in a sorghum breeding program, and then progressed just on through my undergraduate career while I was at Texas Tech. And late 90s were an interesting time to be in agriculture and agricultural research and seed companies, about like what it was over the last 3 or 4 years, as well as about a 20-year cycle that actually happens within these companies. And so ended up down in College Station area looking for a job. I was working for a production greenhouse in the floral industry. It's a lot of fun, beautiful plants all day long. We had 8.5 acres under greenhouse, and I
Wow,
knew I was, yeah,
that's
yeah.
huge.
Well, it's all different houses. Each of the houses was anywhere from 30 to 40,000 square feet. So
Wow.
yeah, and you walk in and you see December or November was amazing. You walk in and you see 30,000 square feet of poinsettias in full bloom. And so you have this sea of reds and pinks and whites and everything else. And I knew I wasn't in the right place when I was looking at those plants going, what happens if I cross these two together? What are the progeny that will come out of this if I cross these and these and these, and going between company suppliers? And never got a chance to. I didn't want to deal with the legal ramifications of what might come up from that. And so knowing the intellectual property laws and so forth and who owns what. So, but I knew I was in the right place, and I was fortunate to walk um, into an open position at Texas A&M. I walked in one of the very first cold calls I'd ever made, and it was me soliciting a job that wasn't there. Right. So I walked in with my resume and said, "Hey, I hear you may have a position." And this professor, Javier Bertrand, is a fabulous man, a Spaniard, great family man, great researcher, amazing man to work for, amazing visions that he has. And I walked in and said, "Hey, my name's Kerry. I hear you have a job that you may have come open." He goes, "May, yes. When it's going to happen, I don't know." We talked a while about my experiences at Cargill and what I was doing and left my resume. He said, "Just keep checking the website. It'll come up one of these days." When I checked the website, the Aggie website for employment, and saw the post finally, I looked at it. I went, "Wait a second." I went down the job requirements, Then I pulled my resume right up next to it and looked at it. And it was almost like he had used my resume for the job posting.
That's fantastic. That's the way to do it right there.
That was that. I mean, that was.
You could teach a class over that.
But it was having had those experiences already going into it, not realizing I was prepared. So, yeah, I started working there, and part of my negotiations and starting was, hey, will you pay for my master's degree? And he just went, sure, that's no problems. He has so much research. He had enough research dollars that it was there, right? So I worked through my master's degree, and once I was finishing up, he left. And he took a job with a company. He's Spaniard. His parents were aging. He went back and took a position in France and was able to be close to his parents and through their end of days, or at least his mom's at that point. And so when he left, I said, what are y'all going to do? And I said, well, you're going to be in charge of it functionally. I couldn't be financially in charge of it because I wasn't at the scientist level yet. And so I interviewed a couple different places, and decided that wasn't the level I wanted to be at. So I wanted to be more in charge of the program rather than just what I saw as the doer out there implementing the program. And so I came back and talked with the professor that I was under, Bill Rooney, sorghum breeder. He's still there, another amazing researcher and plant breeder. And he said, okay, so let's go talk to the department head. Department head was new at this point and didn't have a real good relationship with him. Walked in there, and side note, last week when Dr. Kerry Mayfield was on, David Baltensperger jumped on for a brief time. He was my department head at Texas A&M. So it was pretty cool seeing him jump on because I was on. Or he just saw Dr. Kerry and said, hey, I'm going to hop on this thing. And went, who's that? And hop back on.
That just goes to show you, side tangent, I guess, but it just goes to show you, you think, hey, when you share our podcast or something, it doesn't have this big effect. Like, I've never met this person. I have no idea, but now they're watching our podcast possibly. And, maybe they're not on today, but they're gonna see this on Dr. Mayfield's thing later, and they're going to watch it and maybe join in. So please share and like, and hopefully we can get the word out. These are going to be live forever, or they're going to be recorded.
They're live forever. We're never going to leave. We're going to be here for a long time. Get comfortable.
But you're trapped.
Hey, I've got a question here from one of our viewers, Dylan Moore, shout out, and he said, beverage companies rank in the top 10 of advertisers each year. Kerry, do you believe in a lot of marketing, or is your product so specialized in that quality that you don't have to do as much as the rest of people in your industry?
There are some companies out there that do a lot of Facebook marketing, and we do a lot of just posts that happen every week. We don't do a whole lot of paid marketing where we're pushing out, and part of that is just because that's where I'm at. I'm not to that next growth stage where I need that next level. But it does happen, and regionally starting to hit pockets where people really know who we are. Once we decide that region needs to grow, there will be more of that because it just has to get out there. If we don't have our name out there and people aren't seeing it, it doesn't do us a whole lot. We become stagnated. On the flip side, it's one of those things. I have 2 bad reviews on Facebook. And when those bad reviews hit, I went, what the heck? That was one of those gut wrench, mighty blows to the stomach of what happened. Neither one of them were about our product. They were about ads that we put out that came up on somebody's Facebook feed. Nothing was bad about them. Nothing was wrong. We didn't break any Facebook rules. But you know what? They didn't like it being there. They didn't like it being in their free Facebook feed. And so it was one of those tough things of, hey, you're attacking me because of something that everybody else does. And by the way, you're welcome for me funding Facebook with my ad so you can remain free for you.
Well, conversation too. You took the Grant Cardone approach and says, well, at least they're seeing my ad. Let's pump up the ad spend.
Yeah.
10 times, right?
I heard a great thing that said, if it doesn't cost, if it's free for you, you are the product.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and one of the things that I realized and was taught once I got out of earned my degree, came through a company that wasn't a good fit into the company Chromatin. Chromatin is a biotech company that bought a seed company, and we're implementing a lot of really cool stuff genetically. A lot of really cool stuff genetically. And my chief technology officer, he told me one day, I said, "Hey, we're going to get this germplasm. We're going to get it for free." He said, "No, we're not. We're paying for it." I said, "Why?" He goes, "Because if we get it for free, it has zero value." And I've really stood by that, that if you get something for free to the person receiving it, it really doesn't have a whole lot of value. But if you pay for it, you're getting a lot, and you're gonna honor what you have and not treat it terrible. So
Well, and and I've actually had that experience with I did some pro bono work when I first started Lubbock Consulting, and I did some great stuff for some charities, and I was really doing that, but it was for free. I was using a platform that would connect charities with consultants or web designers or whatever. They would do this pro bono work, and what I realized is that because it was free, they weren't showing up to the meetings. They didn't have any value. They didn't have any skin in the game. And so they didn't value my services whatsoever. And so there was a lot of times where I would do this pro bono work or I'd sign up for it and nothing would get done because they didn't have any skin in the game. And so, as much as I would love to help charities out for free, they just don't value it. So I do charge, and I think they get more out of it because I charge a fee for it. And so
mhm.
it just goes to show you, yeah, there's free things that you get out there, and they're not necessarily as valued. And then another thing that I'll go on another tangent is, you ever bought a pair of $7 sunglasses and then sit on them the next day?
Yep.
Guess what? I've got my Ray-Bans over there. I don't remember how much I paid for them. I've had them for quite a while, and I take care of them because they're a little bit more expensive than the $7 that I sit on every time I get.
I use my Smiths, and I take care of them so much that it takes 3 to 4 years for the lenses to wear out on them.
Okay,
And
well,
that was working.
I am on the other side of the spectrum. I lost a $350 pair of Oakleys and probably a lot more over the years, and so I probably lost over $1,000 in sunglasses. So now I go on Amazon, I find a generic set of aviators, and I order 3 at a time. And then when I can't find one pair, I don't care. I just open another one and I have that. And then by the time I'm losing that one, I found the other one.
Well, so on a strategic side for a business or something like that, you think about this. Okay, so Philip, if I buy from you a $14,000 computer, you build it custom for me, how long is that going to last? And is it going to get everything done? Or should I just buy a $2,200 computer to get everything that I want done, and then buy a new one when it's
So,
not working?
excellent question.
Right?
Wow.
The computer I'm using right now was originally built in 2010. It's a Dell T5500. I've maxed out just about everything you can on it, put the highest end processors and everything in it, and it still outperforms just about everything else I have in my inventory. And it works great for me on a daily basis. And I've upgraded over the years several times, but the base computer is still there. And so yeah, that's a great thing. There always is value to buying good equipment. My only problem is that I lose good equipment. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
so at least in sunglasses, I don't with computers, but
You have to rationalize what the risk and the reward is on the thing. Is the juice worth the squeeze?
but
I know that it motivates me to really take care of a little bit more expensive things, right? Or to value them a little bit more. Same thing goes with products. I think to get back on the subject of the coffee business, right?
yeah.
Do I feel like Kerry's business is the Macintosh of the coffee world. It actually has a little bit more substance than Macintosh does. But Macintosh, boosts their sales because they just price their equipment higher. They've got
Actually,
a
they
good
really don't.
design.
They really don't. If you actually get their hardware and price it out with equivalent Windows stuff, it's been the same until just recently. Their newest refresh is different. Their newest refresh is just, absolutely sky high. But
Yeah.
up until quite recently, Apple, like if you went and you bought a server grade workstation, server grade hardware, which is what Apple sells you, yeah, it was about the same. Same. I mean, for instance, on a MacBook Pro, you have, God, something like 20 temperature sensors throughout the little on the little MacBook Pro on a 15-inch laptop. A Windows laptop may have 8 or so. I mean, so they are built different. Anyways, sorry, I'm not going to talk about computers all day. I could.
Yeah. Well, the biggest thing is kind of pricing model. Are you going after the people that just burn their beans and sell it in a black bag and it's got cool branding, or are you going for flavor and you're pricing it a little bit higher and things like that? So
actually,
angry faces, guys. What are we angry about? Let's stop that.
What?
There's somebody giving us some angry faces.
Who?
I don't know.
Yeah. So I don't think there's anything to be angry about right now.
Yeah, I don't know. But no, as far as
your opinion in the comments.
Well, it's probably what you said about my $10 sunglasses is what's got people angry.
Well, and I think there's value in any product. Hey, the coffee, any type of thing. Are you providing a commoditized thing, or are you providing a quality product? So are you the Walmart of coffee, or are you the Tierras, Planas, the world's best coffee, right?
Yeah, and there's definitely like room for all different types of things in business. Because okay, for instance, this is a great example. Is I work on cars every single weekend, and if I'm going to buy a tool that I'm going to use once, my first question is, where's the cheapest place I can get this? Because I don't care if it breaks after the first time, and that's perfectly okay sometimes. But like last weekend, I bought a jack, and I knew I needed a full-size floor jack, not the junk one that I used to have, and I was going to use this for probably 10 years. I had no problem dumping money into that simply because I knew it was something I'm going to use over and over and over and over, and it's going to pay me dividends. Just like buying a quality vehicle to begin with. They're built better, they're more maintainable, things like that. Like for instance, Kerry, I know you sell some really nice coffee equipment. I mean, how long do you see a lifespan on like a commercial brewer?
Say that again. A lifespan on the commercial what?
Brewer. Like if you go buy one of the commercial bun, 2-pot things. I mean, I've seen some in diners that look like they were around since the Stone Age.
There's essentially, in those that are in the diners, if they're a pour-in model, where you take a pot of water and you pour it in, there is 0 moving parts in that thing. So as long as you have quality water going into it, that heating element will never burn out. There's a water level sensor in there that might corrode up that you have to replace, but overall, those things should become dinosaurs throughout their lifespan, and only upgrading as in some of the brewing equipment that's out there as technology changes in the brewing companies, the equipment companies, whether it's Lubbock Consulting or Bun or a couple other ones, as they start working in some of the software to computerize brewing coffee now. That, hey, we're not just going to shower water onto the grinds in there, but we're going to pulse it, or we're going to shower it for 3 seconds and then let those grinds expand. And then we're going to shower it for another 30 seconds and then let those grinds expand and give it a chance, those grinds in the filter basket, to go in and out. The biggest thing there is the electronics. Otherwise, when it comes to hot water, it's just heating water and using physics to use cold water to flush hot water out of a bucket is all it's doing, right? So you have a more dense substance going in on top of a less dense substance. It's going to flush it out, and that's how you get the hot water out.
That's amazing. I actually never knew that.
Yeah, I mean, it's when you open up a very simple commercial brewer, whether it's a Bun or a Robb Curtis, it's the most simple thing in the world, and you go, oh wow, that's all it is you pour it in, cold water goes in, and that forces the hot water out, and then it just brews another pot. So now when you get into some of the higher tech ones where you end up with a pump, we're gonna get this guy out. He's gonna make a lot of noise.
Oh hey, little guy. What's his name?
This is Titan.
Hello, Titan.
Yeah, he thinks he sees birds in the backyard, and he's trying to go after them. He has no claws up front.
Oh.
I think a bird would probably get him and tear him up if he was able to catch up to one close enough. And so, but commercial brewing equipment, yeah, it's 100% should be a fairly long lifespan.
Well, that's cool. So,
So back to Cory's question a while ago.
What?
So back to your question a while ago. So you're asking whether I was a commoditized product or where we really fit with our pricing and our product that we have, right? So
Yeah.
I refer to myself, all the coffees that I source are considered specialty grade. Okay. And I consider myself a specialty product in a commodity world. As we introduce and as we meet new people, they oftentimes will sit back and go, yeah, this coffee's really good, but I'm not buying it. All they are interested in is a commodity product for $4 or $5 a pound from Walmart, not at a price that is sustainable for producers, for roasters, for other people in the supply chain. And part of it is education. Part of it is they don't put an emphasis on that drink yet. So it's like saying, hey, are we going to get this $40 bottle of wine, or are we going to get the wine in a cardboard box? Same exact comparison.
That is a good comparison, because I know for example, you've got your stuff that's on the shelf, it's commoditized. They roast everything together and they, grind it and they mix it, and it should taste the same in 1996 as it does today. And then you've got this stuff where, especially with high quality wine, you've got all of the different flavors and things like that based on, did we get good rain this year? How much sun did we get? All that affects the grapes. What was the soil composition? That affects the coffee beans as well. So when you mix that, science and art of growing these coffee beans, and then actually have a good product going in to the roaster, you being, hey, let's try this. Let's figure out how to actually extract these good flavors, these floral, kind of aromas, and then we put it in a cup for the consumer to drink. It's an art and a science, as opposed to a recipe, right?
That's right. Well, and thanks to the wine industry, they've created a term called terroir that describes everything that you just cited: the soil, the sunlight.
Yeah, I can't say those big words, so I just
and so it puts it all into one atmosphere. And so the fun part is describing the differences, what people actually taste. You can take the same genetics and put it in Costa Rica and say Ethiopia, and you're going to have two completely different products. You can take different genetics, have the two plants right next to each other, and have a largely different product. If I can ever get my green screen to work right, to show a lot of green in a picture, one of the pictures I look to have on some of our Master Networks calls are pictures of the coffee farm we visited in Ecuador. Well, one of them had over 1,000-foot elevation change in just right there. So up the mountain, 1,000 foot, every 200 to 300 foot, they were treating as a microclimate. And those beans were all grouped together. And so even though they're the same genetics from here to here, they're going to have a different flavor profile associated with it.
Yeah, you got different altitudes, you got different temperatures throughout the year. I know, just in general, if and me having the grape and wine background, that's common in a lot of different of the food stuff type plants. You want to keep that's why we have the fans out in West Texas, because you do have the recessions in the topography. So what you'll do is you'll get that cold air in there, and you need to flow that through, as opposed to having freezing temperatures on your vines. Same thing happens at altitude. You're going to have different altitudes, different pressures. You're going to have ups and downs in your temperatures, and then you're going to have different moisture profiles as well.
Right.
So,
That you do.
so I've got an interesting question here. So I know Cory here knows about the wine world, and Kerry, you obviously know about the coffee world. But me, I'm kind of stuck in the middle. I don't know any of that. So I'm kind of curious.
You know how to drink wine and coffee.
Oh, I know how to drink
You're
wine and I know how to drink coffee. That's for sure. But kind of my interesting thing is I'm kind of wondering about how it affects the business. In a winery, you're kind of vertically integrated, and what I mean by that is you grow your grapes, you process your grapes, and you stamp out your bottle of wine. In coffee roasting, you don't. You go to multiple different farms and sources and things like that, and I'm kind of wondering what that does to your business, how much time you have to invest in, obviously, because you have unlimited options there versus like a winery that's like, well, we're getting our grapes from right over there. How does that change what you do on a daily basis, and like how much time does it take to find the right place to get the coffee beans from in the first place?
Number one is working with, again, building your team. Part of our team is our importing team. And so the importers that we use have been in the industry for going on 3 decades now. And so they've been able to build relationships with farmers, with processors in countries, whether it's Costa Rica, Brazil, Ethiopia, Kenya, the Asia Pacific Islands. And so trusting them and building that relationship with them helps bring in stuff. So they start to learn what my sales rep starts to learn what I have in my profile and what my coffee portfolio looks like. So when I say, hey, I need a natural processed Ethiopian that has this, this, and this, she can come back with 2 to 3 recommendations. If everything's in house, she'll send me some samples. I'll do some sample roast, say, hey, this one fit perfect. This is the one I like. It had the best balance of acid, bitter, and flavor profile. And from there, I bring in bag, 2 bags, 5 bags, however much I think I need for that product. And that's the hard part, is forecasting to not be terminal with a product too fast, but not to have it last so long that people get tired of that coffee. Certain people are going to be upset when they learn that coffee's probably going to be going away in the next month and a half that I've had for quite a while, but it's time for its season to be gone in my portfolio. So once I bring copies in, all it becomes is trial and error, right? So all I'm doing is testing a hypothesis. If I look at what's happening when I'm roasting, do I apply temperature more early or more later? Do I slow it down faster? Do I let it carry on longer? And so I may go through 3, 4, 5, 8, 9 roasts prior to me getting hey, this is the one we're really marketing. This is the one we're really going forward with. So it goes back to the science of what variables can I change and how many variables can I change at one time and still maintain control of it. And then once I'm able to put that in, then can I put that into a production environment as well? So it can take a little bit of time to get the right roast. And hopefully by that time, I know that coffee well enough that I can see potential issues, because every roast is really an artisan roast that I'm just trying to replicate. And so I can see issues before they arise. My goal is to never have to trash a roast because I did something wrong. I can't say that I've achieved that yet. I have a pile of beans out back, and that's turning into my compost pile. Luckily, my compost pile isn't that big yet. So the bigger thing is just being patient with it. When I was breeding plants, I'd go walk through the fields early in the morning. I loved walking through them early in the morning. Pants get wet because of dew. Plants talk to you. They tell you if they're happy or not early in the morning. Walk through them late in the afternoon, they really scream at you if they're not happy. And so being open to what's happening and knowing that plants talk to you, food talks to you when you're cooking it, right? It tells you when it's ready. It tells you when something's not happening right and it's not happy. And so I'm a firm believer that paying attention to what's happening and listening, smelling, seeing, that everything talks to you. People say, well, I can't grow plants. Everybody can grow a plant. You just have to be able to listen to it talk to you. And whether or not you hear it when it's screaming, or do you hear it when it's just happy?
Yeah, absolutely, Kerry. Yeah, those plants will talk to you. Yeah, people say I don't have a green thumb, but it's like, you're just not listening sometimes. You're not watching, you need to make sure that you're paying attention. Just like anything else, be mindful of those things.
That's right.
It is actually pretty challenging, though. I tell you, I
Yeah.
did some aeroponic cherry tomatoes I grew, and I could get it, but I could never figure out once the plant got so big it would start killing itself because it would get so heavy with the tomatoes and stuff. And there's a lot of challenges that go into actually doing it, but it is a lot of fun to try to grow stuff. Anyways, I think you were going to get to our question from Dylan, Cory.
Yeah, we've got another question from Dylan Moore of Pecan Ridge here. What is your target demographic? Any coffee drinker? Or are you going after someone specifically? And I will tell you, we're reaching about 10 minutes left in the podcast. So let's answer this question and we'll move on.
Right. So ideally, yeah, I would be hitting every single coffee drinker out there. That would be my ideal person, right? Just because that's a huge number of people. But going back to those people that feel like coffee is a commodity, those aren't part of my people. I've realized that. Early on, it was just everybody. Now it's a little bit more specific. I want somebody with a discerning taste. I want somebody with larger amounts of disposable income because then they keep coming back. And so that's a bigger thing. I don't want them to hurt for other things to be able to drink my coffee. I want them to be able to sit down and enjoy it. It's not something to grab and go on the fly, but something that should be enjoyed. Now, everybody's going to do that. I do that. But be able to sit down and enjoy it on at least a weekly basis. I mean, I've had some people say my coffee is their weekend coffee. During the week, all they drink is commodity coffee, and they get to the weekend where they can sit and enjoy it. Those are the people I really like to have.
Yeah, that sounds like Miller Lite on the weekdays and the wine on the weekends, or Jack Daniels or something.
Or even just staying within a beer. I mean, staying with a box during the week and you're going high-end bottle on the weekend.
Yeah. Well, tell us what you're listening to podcast-wise or reading right now, or just something that's helped you out in the past, something that you really think that all business owners should read or listen to, things like that.
So you mentioned him earlier, is Grant Cardone, right? There was a couple of them that I just sunk into and got to listen to and got to really affected me. I got to go to his growth conference last year in February with a friend of mine in Miami. Had a great time meeting as many people as I did there. It's about 30,000 people there, all looking for inspiration. It was amazing. Beyond Grant Cardone, right now I'm reading John Maxwell's Leader Shift book. Be careful. I'm going to repeat and quote John on that. Be careful when you say it, because it's a shift, not something else. And that was him at the growth conference last year saying that. So I'm finally getting to it. And it's an amazing book looking at relationships and building how you build teams, work within your teams, and how you lead somebody. I mean, we have people that we're around that are just great leaders, just natural leaders. And I found that I'm not, at least don't feel like I'm one of those people, and have to really dive into what am I doing to help people move along? What am I doing to help people see what I have? Because, I feel like that's where I fail. I really do. And so trying to get as much as I can there. Drive is another one by Daniel Pink. And then See You at the Top with Zig Ziglar. I've gotten through part of that. I get through parts of books and then take a break and hit something else, and then go through another one, then go through another one. So may have 3 or 4 or 5 going at any point in time. But yeah, the first two earlier, that I mentioned earlier, is Ready, Fire, Aim. If you're looking for a time to make a shift or a time to make a change, and right now everybody's pivoting some way or another. Melissa goes into a lot about how they had to pivot every time they turned around as they were building their business up. And it was just thinking back on that book now really applies to right now and where we're at economically in business side of things.
Yeah, absolutely. And, all of those books that you just mentioned are, I'm throwing some links into our comments description on Facebook here. But all of those all of those books, they inform a different thing. Drive by Daniel Pink is one of what I, as sacrilegious as this may sound, that's kind of the leadership Bible because it really talks about, motivating the people around you and why, what kind of motivation of the past, the carrot and the stick was the past. And now, we're kind of looking at intrinsic values and we really, kind of laugh at the millennials that want to feel important, but everybody does. And we're in that stage of society where everybody wants to provide value to society. And so that motivates people, right? So how do you motivate the people around you? Drives from Daniel Pink is fantastic. Leadership is also a fantastic book. And then, we talked about Grant Cardone there, 10X rule and things like that. So, fantastic set of books. I know you listed a couple more, and we'll try to get those links out in the description soon.
All right, so Phil, I got a thing for you though. So as far as pronouncing the name of my company, Tierras Planas Roasters, can you roll your R's? Can you sit there and
go? I took 3 years of high school Spanish. I got this.
Okay, then you should be able to get it, because otherwise there is a gene that may affect your ability to roll the R's. So some people genetically cannot roll R's, just absolutely cannot do it. Nothing they can do will ever allow them to roll an R.
Wow, that's interesting. I never knew that.
Yes. Yep.
So I wonder if they're susceptible to the COVID-19 virus too. That sounds awful. Sorry to make a morbid joke there, I guess.
That's all right, man. It happens. So.
So guys, thanks for joining us. Dr. Mayfield from Tierras Planas. I can't do it. I might be one of those people without
Planas.
There you go.
Thanks for joining us. I'm Cory Myers with Lubbock Consulting. You can find me at lubbockconsulting.com, where we help business owners just like you inspire, thrive, and lead.
I'm Philip Robb with Robb Technology Group. RobbTech.io is where you can find us.
And Kerry Mayfield, Tierras Planas Roasters, TierrasPlanasRoasters.com. Luckily, right now, this is our birthday month, and so everything's 20% off. Saying thank you.
20% off, TierrasPlanas.com. TierrasPlanasRoasters.com, right?
TierrasPlanasRoasters.com or TPRCoffee.com.
And I'm throwing that in the comments right now, your link to your site.
Perfect. Throw it in there. And guess what? Join us every Tuesday and Thursday at noon when we're doing these podcasts. We're going to have on Thursday, we're going to have Riker Taylor from Wonder Tree join us. Wonder Tree is a digital marketing agency, so you're going to want to tune in for that. Thursday at noon Central Time. Join Phil and I for Riker Taylor from Wonder Tree on Thursday. And then next week, we've got some other special guests. Stay tuned. We will make those announcements soon. Thanks again, Kerry, for joining us.
Hey, thank you for having me. I enjoyed this.
Yeah. And again, find him at TierrasPlanasRoasters.com.
All right. Have you all a good